iconic stone lions, and it hit me. I'm not at just any college. I am at the very birthplace of Indian engineering. For 179 years, that's what you said, for 179 years, this campus has been the backbone of India's progress. But today, the mission is even bigger. We are here to talk about a VIKASIT Bharat. And let's be honest, you cannot have a developed India without Thomasonians leading the charge. Whether you call yourselves the Arjanta or heirs to this 1847 legacy, you are the brains and engines of this country. So let's get straight to the heart of this. What does VIKASIT Bharat actually mean for you? What does it mean for you? Is it GDP numbers? Is it infrastructure? Is it global influence? Or is it something more demanding and more interesting? Now, whether you become engineers, entrepreneurs, or even diplomats, this question matters. Because building a nation is not about managing success. It is about navigating complexity while the country is still becoming. So today, I want to talk to you not about a destination, but about the road. Because roads tell you more than maps ever do. But let me start with a reality check. The world you are preparing to serve in is not orderly, not rules-based in the way textbooks promised, and not predictable. We all heard the Canadian Prime Minister at Davos recently. Now, what he said was, we are moving from a world shaped by rules and institutions to one increasingly shaped by power, fragmentation, and competing national priorities. So we are living through strategic rivalry without guardrails, wars in Europe and West Asia, supply chains being weaponized, technology racing ahead of governance, and multilateral institutions, such as the United Nations, struggling to stay relevant. Now, what I want to tell you is that this is not a temporary phase. This is the new operating environment. And here's the uncomfortable truth. No country today can afford pure idealism, not even the most powerful ones. So what does that mean for India? You tell me, what does that mean for India? It means VIKASIT Bharat is not about choosing between morality and realism. It is about holding both without being paralyzed by either. Now let's be clear about something. Let's be clear. India's moment is not about hype. India today is the world's fastest growing large economy, a trusted development partner across the global south, a digital public infrastructure pioneer, a country that can speak to everyone, to Washington, to Moscow, Brussels, Tehran, Tel Aviv, and Nairobi, without apology. But here's the part that you must understand. Momentum is not the same as inevitability. Countries don't become developed because history owes them something. They become developed because they manage contradictions better than others. And India, you might agree with me, India has several contradictions to manage simultaneously. Now let me frame 4 challenges you, as future leaders of this country, will constantly encounter. The first challenge: strategic autonomy in a polarized world. The pressure to choose sides, has never been stronger. But India's position has been consistent, not neutral, but independent. Strategic autonomy today does not mean standing apart. It means engaging deeply without surrendering decision-making. Your job will not be to explain India's position defensively. Your job will be to explain it confidently. Because the world increasingly understands that autonomy is not obstruction and alignment does not mean subordination. My second point, growth. India's growth story is strong, but development, please remember, is not just about speed. The real questions are, can growth absorb India's youth? All of you. Can it be green without being exclusionary? And can it reduce inequality without killing enterprise? Now, diplomacy today, or diplomacy in the modern world, is economic diplomacy. Trade negotiations, technology standards, climate finance, critical minerals, digital rules, energy. These are not technical sideshows. They are core national interest. Now, look at Khavda in the Kutch district of Gujarat. It's an engineering marvel. I'm highlighting it because a lot of you are engineers, potential engineers. We are building there a renewable energy park that covers 72,000 hectares. 72,000 hectares. To give you a sense of that scale, that is the size of the entire country of Singapore. That is how a VIKASIT Bharat leads. We don't just preach about climate change. At international summits, we engineer the solutions at scale which the world simply cannot ignore. My third point, technology. And this is where now you, as the R Janta, come in. AI, semiconductors, data governance, cyber resilience, space assets, all of these now define power. India's success in digital public infrastructure has already changed how the world looks at development models. All of you know that India accounts for nearly 50% of the world's real-time digital payments. India is also now being increasingly recognized as a top-tier AI country, not just a participant. It has the highest AI skill penetration in the world, 3 times the global average. The brains of 2047 are in this room. And as highlighted recently by Minister Ashwini Vaishnav at Davos, India has presence across all 5 layers of the AI ecosystem: data, compute, talent, applications, and policy and governance. Now, this is a rare combination, and it explains why India is no longer only reacting to global tech debates, but convening them. Now, next month in New Delhi, India will host the AI Impact Summit, bringing together governments, industry, and innovators to focus not just on innovation, but on inclusion, guardrails, and real-world impact. For future diplomats, this changes the nature of engagement. You will not only defend India's tech interests, you will help co-write the norms that govern emerging technologies. My fourth point, reforming the world that benefits from the status quo. Now, India speaks often, and I remember doing that myself from the global podium that the United Nations in New York is. We speak often and rightly about reforming global institutions. But remember this, institutions don't reform because arguments are good. They reform because pressure is sustained and coalitions are smart. Multilateralism today is less about ideal architecture and more about practical outcomes. And sometimes progress happens outside the room before it enters the room. This is the diplomacy of our time. Now let me pose a question to you. What makes India different? And why it matters? What makes India different? Well, here is something you should never underestimate. India's strength is not just scale. It is credibility. It is credibility born of lived experience. India speaks about development, not from theory, but from practice. About inclusion, not as charity, but as necessity. It speaks about democracy, not as perfection, but as persistence. That gives India a voice others cannot easily replicate. But credibility must be maintained, not assumed. And there is one more dimension that distinguishes India today, and it is often underestimated. India is not a new power searching for a story. It is a civilization state rediscovering agency in a modern world. India carries civilizational memory of pluralism, of debate, of coexistence, of continuity, while pursuing contemporary ambition with clarity. So, civilizational confidence without nostalgia, and modern ambition without cultural erasure. And that balance between the 1847 roots of this college and the 2047 dreams of this nation is our greatest strength. So, what kind of leaders does a VIKASIT Bharat require? Not just fluent, not just polished, not just well-read. It needs leaders, it needs diplomats who are strategically calm in noisy rooms, and there are going to be many noisy rooms over the next 2 days, I think. It needs people who are comfortable with ambiguity. It needs people grounded in national interest, but open to global realities. It needs people capable of listening, not just speaking. Because diplomacy today is less about delivering instructions and more about shaping space for options. And often, the most important work you will do won't make headlines, won't trend on social media. Sorry to disappoint your social media manager. And won't even be noticed immediately. But it will matter. The road ahead is not smooth, and that is the point. Let me say this clearly. If the road to Viksit Bharat were easy, it wouldn't be meaningful. There will be setbacks, there will be criticism, there will be misunderstanding. But diplomacy is not about instant gratification. It is about long arcs. India's rise will not be linear, but it can be purposeful. And purpose is what separates ambition from achievement. So, as I wrap up, I want to give you a final perspective. 2047 sounds like a long way off. It feels like a government slogan, which it is in many ways. But let's do the math. By 2047, most of you sitting here in front of me will be 40 or 45 years old. In the corporate world and in the government, where I served, that is the impact zone. That is when you will be the CEOs, the chief engineers, and the senior diplomats. So the Viksit Bharat we talk about today is actually your career roadmap. The government can set the vision, but they can't write the code. They can't design the smart grids. They can't build the high-speed rails. You have to do it. A developed India is not a gift that will be handed to you in 2047. It is a house that you have to start building the moment you walk out of these doors today. The lions outside the James Thomason building don't just guard a legacy, they guard a responsibility. And as you prepare to represent India in a world that is anxious, that is divided and fast changing, ask yourselves this. When history looks back at this moment, will it say that India merely navigated the world as it was, or that Indians of your generation quietly helped shape the world as it needed to be? That answer begins with you.